Stay.
Okay, so welcome to the next session. So last time we talked about, I think in detail about Narayana Suktam, if you remember, Mary. And I think Manju could not join last
Yeah,
time.
I cannot join.
We chanted the Narayana Suktam. I explained and how Narayana Sutta says the Ishvara Tattva, Narayana, can be seen at the heart here. This is what I explained. In fact, Mary was so thoughtful. I think she got very emotional too. So I was very respectful of that. So if you want to say anything on the topic, maybe you can do that. And before we get there, today's background, I have used a place called Varanasi or Kashi. It is considered to be one of the oldest cities in the world. It's on the banks of the river Ganges, Ganga, and that is a place where the local belief is that Lord Shiva himself wanders around and gives liberation or moksha to those who are dying there. There's a belief that if you die in Kashi, you get automatically a moksha. They say that it's a belief. Nevertheless, it's famous for one of the oldest Shiva temples in the world and one of the oldest learning centers in the world. The Kashi University, the libraries, been around for 3,000 years or something like that. And as far as the traditional Shastra, Indian thought, wisdom learning is concerned, that Kashi is the ultimate place. Like anybody in India who have a, shall we say, a different idea than what is generally accepted at that time, if they want to propagate their ideas, it is not enough. If they argue with local scholars and defeat them, they have to come to Kashi. As they say, literally put a flag and say, this is my new theory. Those who are willing to challenge me, come and challenge me. And the way people used to go and debate, and then almost like a Greek system. And then, unless it gets established by the scholars resident in Kashi, Varanasi it is called, only then will it be accepted as the. It's like a peer review, frankly. It's a peer review center, I would say. So that is a place, and that attracts enormous amount of yogis and sannyasis and sadhus and monks of all kind of varieties. I mean, it's a sight to see there. It's a chaotic, absolutely chaotic. Now they cleaned up and they made it very beautiful and all the stuff, modern, etc. But till at least 15 years back, I would say it used to be absolutely chaotic. And in fact, I like that chaos because life is chaotic. Life is not organized. Life is chaotic. It represents life. It's not clean. Life is not clean. It's ugly, and it doesn't go. Life never goes smooth. It's always upheavals, ups and downs. Therefore, it mirrored our life. And if you make it clean, sweep it, put marble, and I don't know. But anyway, they're doing it because it's a tourist attraction. Thousands of tourists are from all over the world go there every day. Therefore, they try to make it clean and all the stuff. That place is on the river Ganga, as I told. And again, the belief is that if you dip in Ganga River, you get liberation, moksha. Every practicing Hindu wishes to go at least once in life and have a dip in Ganga. 3 times you have to take dips. It's called dubki. 3 times you have to do, and the river is, what shall we say, clinically speaking, probably one of the dirtiest river, because if you have thousands of people taking bath, you know what happens. On the top of it, because of the belief that if you die, Shiva himself comes and gives you moksha. People in the last days, many of people want to come there and die, and they want to be cremated there. And they cremate it in open ground, just on the banks. So for many people, particularly those coming from West, it's a bizarre sight. Just here, bunch of people will be celebrating some religious function. Okay, some child is born, somebody is getting engaged, married. Just 10 feet away, they will be burning a corpse. Another 10 feet away, lot of religious people will come and be taking dip. Then another 10 feet this direction, you will have a bunch of yogis sitting and doing meditation. And like just 100 feet away in this narrow lane, life goes on as usual. Bustle of street and bazaars and all the stuff. That is the attraction, right? That's what life is. We have everything in life. In fact, happening simultaneously. It may not happen in our house, but some good or some bad is happening at the very moment. On our near dear friends or relatives' house, something is going on at the very moment. But we need to continue life as on. That's the idea behind the city. But it's a great experience. I mean, you will be anybody in the world, whether you believe it or not, however, shall we say, clinically pure attitude you got, your own notions of cleanness. You can have anything, any kind of cleanness notion, hyper sensitive to these things you may be. But the moment you go there, all these situations, all the scenes put together overpower you. And you like it. And you'll be wondering, why did I like it? I mean, in my house, I will never do this. Why am I doing it? But looking at thousands of people doing the thing draws you there. That is the power. I think that psychologically they've designed it like that. It's a great place to be. So I don't know where all you would go in India, if at all you go to India, but Kashi certainly is a place. So that is the background I've chosen for today. All right then. So you can go Mary first, and then you will ask Manjula to talk about it. Yeah.
So I don't recall specifically what was read. It was from the Vedas, right?
Yeah, it was
from the Vedas.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
But I do remember my the way I felt listening. So that struck me very strongly. That it stirred in me some kind of feeling and some kind of recognition of a truth, and it made me want to get closer to that and to somehow experience this truth always, because I see through my daily life, like I can give examples of all the different mood swings, different changes. There's a heaviness, and there's like, oh, I don't want to do this. Or there's a joy, or, it's always changing. But I want to always stay with something that's constant and real. And I want to participate in life, because I am here. I mean, I was born and I was brought here. I still don't understand all that and how it is that it's me and who's me, all that stuff. It's like, but I want to be closer to that. I want to be able to have that contact, because that's the only thing that feels real to me. And I don't know what else how to refer to it, but it's just because everything else changes constantly. I see how the moods are and how there's reaction, there's and it's very quick. It's almost uncontrollable, and it's almost like it didn't have to be that way, but hey, there it was. And then next time it's something else, but it's always changing, and it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like that part really is real. It's almost like an illusion. It's almost like a dream. So that's what struck me when you said something about you talked about when you said something about Ishvara and something about, I don't remember the specifics. I wish I had been able to listen to it again, but I couldn't get the recording.
Oh.
And that, I guess that's pretty much, I mean, in the moment it was much, it was in that moment, but I still experience it all the time anyway, so I can speak about it.
Yep. Sure. I mean, like I said, I will send you the link and you can listen to it again.
I will. Yeah. I would like to, yeah.
But the most important thing too, in my view, what I learned from this, which I'm sure you would agree with me, is this. You have explained your feeling and your thought about it in your own way. And you also said that I don't know much about it because obviously you're not read Vedas and those portions, first time you're hearing, etc. But think of this. It struck God in you because it seems to be explaining your experience. Or you are trying to validate your experience with this. Either way, you mirror each other. That's what is the point here. Because if you remember, this is one concept I keep on stressing all the time. You can, from anywhere in the world, any group of people, they want to position any God. It can only be valid, and I wouldn't say every concept of God is valid. It will only be complete, I would say, only if it is applicable to anybody, anywhere in the world, at any time. This sloka was probably, these Vedas were probably, nobody wrote it, nobody knows who is the author. That's why everybody says Ishvara himself gave these Vedas. There's even a concept called apaurshya, not written by anybody, unauthored. That is the meaning of that word. There's a logic for that. I'll come a little later. Right now, I'll say this. These were probably inspired, or somebody got inspired, somebody, quote unquote, downloaded from the cloud, as they say, some 5,000 years back, somewhere in the northwestern region of the Indian subcontinent. Now you're here in US, in New York City, never part of that tradition. You belong to another religion, you've been trained in another religion, and you have a feeling which you're expressing which mirrors what it said. That is why it's important. Only those concepts which can be valid for anybody, anywhere, anytime, in any context, only those are construed to be the voice of God. But logically, you cannot accept a theory that God will select and say only those who have a height between 5 feet and 5 feet 4 inches are allowed to be my followers, and only they will get to liberation. Then he is like a cult leader or a political party leader, right? That is a theory. That is why I was very fascinated by your reaction. See, for us coming from there, we are told and we are trained and we are to be very absolutely true. We have been brainwashed into believing that Vedas are valid for everybody. And we take it for granted. And for us, because it has come from our country and our group of people, it is not a right justification. Everybody would like to believe that. But when we come here, when we listen to people like you, or anybody else for that matter, in Boston also, whenever I talked about it, those people also felt the same way. So that is a validation of the idea that Vedas contain, shall we say, concepts and practices which are valid for anybody, anywhere, anytime in the world. That is the point. It's very nice to hear that. Anyway, go listen to that, and perhaps if you want to ask any specifics, yeah. And probably I will try to send you two other things also. All of us, there is. One is a link. See, that being a Vedas, I chanted it the way I know, in a slow pace, for all of us to hear that. But all Vedas have a very, very strict. Okay. So, like I was saying, I will send a few other documents also. Like Vedas need to be chanted in a very specific meter with a lot of accent and downplaying certain syllables. They're absolutely rigid. In fact, if my guru were ever to hear what I was chanting the other day, he would curse me immediately. He's very, very strict about it. So I will send you how tradition it is chanted, and I will also send you, if I think I can find it out, the text as well as the English translation, so that you get to connect all those things. So whatever I said, the proper way of chanting Vedas, the Narayana Sukta, as well as the meaning, I'll send across, so that you can connect all of them, and then hopefully you can pinpoint the specific line or something which really trigger. That's what I want to catch. Why do you want to do that? For you as individual, that particular idea resonates with you. That, if I find out, I will try to shape up my ideas and thoughts which are applicable to you whenever I talk to you. It's more for my benefit than anything else. Okay?
Thank you. I would love that. I would love that.
Thank
But I just want to also say that my parents are Orthodox. They were Macedonian from Greece. They immigrated and they raised us going to church and everything. But the way that came to us was we rejected it. I mean, me and my sisters, it was like, because it was the way it was given, sort of, you have to do this and you have to do that and all that, but there was no real connection to it. But now when I read the Gospels, I see truths there. But I just wanted to put that in because I was raised, as a Christian, but it didn't really speak to me.
I think that's the problem with most of the organized religion, because when children are brought up, they're never told why certain things are being said. They say, this is what it is, take it. And they threaten. As children, we are the mercy of parents, therefore we are scared always. They look bigger and they're authoritative, we are dependent on them. And that process itself makes us hate. That is the problem, right? So I have tried to raise my children, for example, never compelling me to follow anything I say. I say, this is what I know. You want to be a Hindu, be a Hindu. You don't want to be a Hindu, be something else. You want to be an atheist, be that. But find out. Don't blindly accept. Blindly accepting a Hindu concept is wrong. So is wrong blindly accepting a materialistic philosophy either. So whatever you want to do, investigate and accept. That's what I used to tell them. And I don't know where they are today. Sometimes they behave like Hindus, sometimes they behave like atheists, and I have no idea what they're going to do. It's up to them. My job is done. That is one thing. You have, in my view, another advantage. Greek thought. I don't know whether you ever got opportunity to read Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, and Greek thought is extraordinarily good, actually, extraordinarily good. And they have a lot of connection between Indian thought and the Greek thought. Plenty of commonality. See, I mean, you need to go thousands of years back during the period of Persian king Xerxes. They call it, the real Persian name I don't know. In English, they call it Xerxes. They say Xerxes. They say between Danube, I think Romania, I suppose, from the Greece, Romania to Danube to this side up to, let us say, Calcutta. That region was a part of enormous wars at that time. The Persian king tried to expand westward up to Danube and eastward up to India. And the Greek kings tried to push him back, and Alexander tried to come this side. So there is so much intermingling happening between the Greeks, Iranians, and Indians. Obviously, there's a lot of thought. Along with war, people travel, thoughts travel, ideas travel. There is an extraordinary period, I would say. The thought processes are fantastic. You should really read Plato, Aristotle, Socrates. And so Socrates particularly comes across as a very, very cheeky old man. He's very, very cheeky guy. But
I think he's Macedonian.
Okay, your own place.
Well, nobody knows really the origin of that, but
yeah. I think even Alexander is Macedonian, right?
Yeah.
So you have tremendous heritage you got, and please go back and touch it. Even Alexander's conversation, I don't know how much is true, because people always invent things about great kings, but still you have to read. At least one portion would be true. The conversation between Alexander and three or a bunch of rishis and those days in India, when he was invading India, those conversations are excellent, actually. You have to read. It really.
I will.
Oh, yeah.
I'll look it up.
Please.
Thank you.
Alexander, actually. He was taken aback.
Yeah.
So you have a great heritage. Therefore, combining Greek thought with Orthodox Greek Christianity, like all religions, I won't say only Christianity, all religions have theology. In theology, they take some small fact and blow it up. Like I say, Puranas, all kind of things will be told. We should not get put off by that, because that is the structure, that is the grammar of telling a story. What is the essence is what we have to try, because we always remove the grain and eat the the chaff in the grain and eat the grain, right? We never eat it the whole as it is. That's what we should be doing. I think you're very lucky. Very lucky you are. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, is your parents still alive or?
No, both of them passed away.
Okay.
Kind of early, yeah.
Not a problem. But in the day of their, I'm sure once in a year you'll have some Memorial Day kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Please take a moment to thank them for giving you that heritage.
Okay.
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Manjula, your points.
Yeah, I may not have anything from the previous sessions. I missed a couple. So yeah, from this point, what Mary was mentioning, my thought is like, yeah, you don't have to be a Hindu or following a Hinduism or born to Hindu parents. So you can follow that. In fact, any religion, you can follow it any time. So it is rightly available, and people are there to help you to. It is actually really amazing to see how Mary is grasping all this, right? So that way you don't have to hesitate to learn from someone who already knows. I mean, that is how I feel. Religion should not be a barrier here. Whatever good points you can grasp and kind of follow those through and make use of the benefits there, I think that is what matters. Yeah, just
Thank
few
you,
thoughts.
Absolutely. No, it's amazing. That's what I tell many of my other network people that I am lucky to be talking to Mary and Mirel. That's what I would say. It's really a humbling experience for me when I talk to both of you. And honestly, I'm telling you, not to please you or whatever. Honestly, I'm telling you.
Right, hardly couple of sessions with them, I already feel that. Yeah, we are lucky to have you both.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you dedicated your life to yoga to start with.
Correct.
It's all good. These are the things which prove the karma theory. That every jiva, which I mentioned, every soul is not the right word. That's how it's translated in English. Every jiva continues a journey multiple ways in different parts of the universe. And every time, we read about it in the previous sutra as well, every time it carries the good and the bad effects of all the things it did in the previous incarnation. Nothing is lost. That is what the even your sutra said. If you remember, you recall a few sutras before, that's what it said. Nothing is lost, it gets transmigrated. On the one hand, it proves that as Jiva, we have a continuity of life. We keep shedding the bodies, but we continue to live. That it gets kind of proof. And second, we are responsible for our progress. Nobody else is. And what Ishvara does is to give an opportunity again and again and again, infinite number of times, so that we can pick our, as they say, pick the bags and tie our laces and run every time we fall. These two things can be inferred. These are logical propositions in India. This is where I said the Greek philosophers used logic quite a lot. And in India, logic is one of the things, not the only thing. There is a system called Nyaya Sastra. It means logic, science of logic. The definition itself is that. The structure of the whole science and how they analyze stuff, the steps they do, is very similar to what the Greek method has been. That is one thing. And second thing is, there is a concept called padartha. It's called, for example, we know what is ontology, right? If you see something, you see the universe, you see life, you see so many things, can you reduce all of them into fundamental building blocks put together. It's like periodic table in chemistry. You know that there are, I don't know today how many are there, 120 or whatever. Anything we see is a combination of this material. Likewise, ontology, padartha, is the number of things they have defined. Like, for example, universe means there's a fire element, there's an earth element, there's an air element, right? Then, like that, they keep on building. Because when they look at this kind of padartha ontology, it does not stop only with matter. Because it is seen, the universe is seen as three constituents: matter, mind, intellect, and spirit. I mean, again, spirit is not the right word in Sanskrit, but I'm trying to translate in because I need to be very cautious, because the spirit is defined as something in Christianity, and I don't want to get confused with that. I would say non-matter entity of us. Okay. Therefore, you put together this matter is the universe. Therefore, any ontology, padartha should cover all of them. It's not enough if you only talk about material aspects of the universe. That's what they do. Again, if you look at Greek thought, what they define as elements, they call it as elements. They're strikingly similar. So it will be very interesting for you, I suppose. Yeah. Sorry, Manjula, I think you were trying to say something. I interrupted you, I suppose. Continue.
Paddy, you go ahead. I just had few thoughts about what she was feeling. Yeah. You can continue. Yeah.
Okay. So anything else, Mary, or shall we continue? Okay. So last time we went to, let me open this thing. Yeah. We talked about meditating on the heart, and that is where I went on for giving explanation for. Do you have the book in front of you, or how is it? Can't hear you.
Which book?
Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Do you have it, Manjula?
No, Paddy, I don't have a book yet.
Okay, I will send you the PDF if I have. I think I have it. I'll send you the PDF.
Okay.
So we stopped at 37. We said that by meditating on, we were discussing about Samadhi Anubhava. I think, Manjula, you were not there last time. We were discussing about Samadhi Anubhava and what happens, etc. And we introduced the concept of Ishvara as an entity, which transcends all the time, space, the good, bad, ugly, which is not bound by the three gunas and things like that. And we also said that Ishvara is represented by Pranava, Om. That is the seed of all knowledge available in the universe. And that can be realized by meditating on the heart, is what we said. To elaborate that, I went on to Veda, brought in the Narayana Suttam. I chanted the Narayana Suttam and I explained it. Now, this continues. We'll go to 38. I go to 38. Swapna Nidra Jnana Alambanam Va. That means you can get the same Samadhi Anubhava experience. I'm talking 38. By fixing the mind or following the dream experience or deep sleep. Now, does it strike any chord? You just missed. Mary, did it strike any chord?
So I think I asked that question because I used to do a lot of Jungian therapy, and where you analyze your dreams. So are they talking? Is he saying your dreams are informing you about your inner life or about something deeper within that we should find useful for our spiritual growth?
Okay, I think you did mention Jungian thing last time.
I remember asking that question.
Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, it is that it goes beyond that. This, for example, this one sutra, this 3-4 words, which says Swapna Nidra Jnanam Alambanam Va, is only 3 or 4 words. This one word is a summarization of a big section of Vedas, called Upanishads. There is something called Mandukya Upanishads, which probably would run some 30, 40 or half or 50 such as couplets. This one line summarizes the whole thing. I'll come there. What it does, Carl Jung was more focused on, shall we say, how to use dream experience and deep sleep experience to explain, deal with, and potentially cure some of the problems which face in a waking state. His focus was primarily on how to deal with waking state. In other words, I don't know, I can crudely summarize Jungian theory. It says that a waking state is just a continuation of a dream and deep sleep experience. That is what is fundamental assumption. One influences the other, which is very well. All of us know it very well. Our anxiety about a future, or our joy of past, or a sorrow of the past, always get into our dreams. We know that. In fact, Jung built on this, and then Freud came and he went in another direction. But he was also very much interested, very much focused on connecting our experience in dream and deep sleep state and the waking state. But here, in Veda Upanishads, as well as Patanjali Sutra, this particular 38, it accepts this theory, it restates the same theory, but it goes beyond, because the way the Indian thought process looked at us is different the way the West looked at it. Western psychology looked at it, right? The Western psychology, whether it's Jung or Freud, it's one shot. You live one birth you got, you're done with it, then you go for. They don't even accept about the day of judgment, and it's not their business as far as they're concerned. They're not connected with theology. They don't care what happened to you before or after death. They don't. They say in life, when you're living, what are the problems of waking state, and how do you deal with it with the experience you have in the dream state? That's what they focus on. But here in Vedas, the idea is, the whole thing is based on transmigration, that you will be born multiple times, and how the experience of one life can be carried forward to another to continue to evolve. That is the approach in the Indian thought process. And therefore, what this sutra does, which is a summarization of the entire thing called Mandukya Upanishad, is to address all elements of it, not just waking state of it. What does it mean? It means it tries to answer the following questions. All right. In dream, you have these experiences. Who are those experiences? Who are the actors in the dream? Frankly, you are the only actor in a dream. Even if there are 10 people in your dream, you are the one who play all the parts. You play yourself and you play the part of others. This is very interesting, because then the Mandukya Upanishad asks these questions. If you play the part of others, what does it mean? It means you are not playing them as they are, but you are playing them as you feel about them. Even if somebody is very nice, a good friend of yours of 20 years, on a particular day, because that person was having a terrible time in his or her house, in life, snapped at you, that day you dream as if that person is very evil. Because on that day you felt that person is so unfriendly, rude to me. I don't know why he or she is so rude to me. And that day you had a terrible dream in which you portray that person as evil. Likewise, it happens to everybody else. Therefore, in dream, you play everybody's part not as they are, but as you feel about them. Why is it so significant? This is significant because it defines another principle, that even in the waking state, you are not going to deal with people as they are. You're only going to deal with them as you feel about them, your impressions about them. Your belief, your impressions, your reaction about others is going to define others for you. This is very, very important. That this is what Jung uses to say that, okay, don't worry, don't get very upset immediately because this is what you felt and therefore you believe like this. Try to look for other experience points with them and cross-validate whether your conclusion about them is consistent or not. That's more for psychoanalysis. I don't know whether I use the right word, psychiatric analysis or whatever it is called, to help you in interpersonal relationship equilibrium with others. In Mandukya Upanishad as well as in this sutra, it is used for another purpose, to tell you that in life, each person is going to be driven by only their impressions, not by reality. Therefore, what exactly the absolute reality outside is almost impossible to get. You'll never get it. Therefore, you live as per. In fact, in one of the philosophical theories in India, they go to the extreme using this principle to say, honestly speaking, they say in ultimate analysis, there's only one person in the universe, which is you. Everything else is your impressions of others. The others don't really live in the universe. You and your impressions about others alone constitute your universe. And there's another viewpoint which pushes the envelope further to say, therefore, you create your own universe. There is no one common universe for all of us. You create your own universe. And then there are people like Shankara and other philosophers who go even one step further to say, therefore, the universe which you talk about, external universe, is nothing but a figment of your imagination. Jagat Mithya is what they say. The universe is a figment of your imagination. It is not a figment like what magicians create. Nevertheless, a figment, because you will never know. Three of us are talking to each other. You form an opinion about me based on this 1 or 2 hours of conversation I have with you every 1 week. So you will build your mental model about what Paddy Rao is. For example, just to make it a point, I'm going to the extremes. After just completing my conversation today, I may go and murder somebody and come back. You won't know that. So you will think I'm Paddy Rao, what a great guy. And 1 month, 2 months down the line, if the cops arrest me for murder, you'll be shocked. What? Paddy is a murderer? What happened to him? But all along, I've been having evil thoughts in my mind, which you'll never know. The experience which you have with me will define me, but not sum total of who I am. That's what Carl Jung and Freud were very focused on. They talked about the subconscious, the id, the subconscious, and all that. They talked about the structure of the human psyche on that basis. Whereas philosophers in India use this dream experience to go further and say, impact of this is the structure of the universe itself, and how you relate to that. They went to that extent. That's what Mandukya Upanishad talks about. Then what is the deep sleep state which Carl Jung and Freud were focused on? They also recognize, like the Indian philosophers did, that there is a few hours per day in everyday life where we are sleeping and we don't even have dreams. The Jung and Freud defined it as a subconscious because we don't know what it is. It is there. They recognize it is there. They defined it as subconscious and tried to use it for psychoanalysis purposes. The Indian philosophers said, what do you feel about that state where you did not even have dreams? That means at that stage, you are not playing anybody else's part. Okay? Did you play your part? You are not very sure because there is no experience at that time. But you know you existed. something, was happening, but you have no idea what it is, and there was nobody else. And in that quote unquote actionless state of mind where you alone existed, one thing you recognize is it was so nice. You felt so relaxed. You were so blissful. You love it. I had a great, wonderful sleep. But I don't know what happened. That is the problem. You don't know what happened, but you're very, very sure that you were blissful. You had a nice dream. When you have a dream, you are able to recall that you had a very nice, pleasant dream. Going to the place, for example, you always want to go to India. One of the days you will dream, or maybe you already dreamt you went to India, based on what you see on TV. But still, if you think through, you will grade the moments when you did not even have dreams far superior to the moments where you dreamt of going to the place of your liking. Then Mandukya Upanishad analyzes and says, because that is the moment, the dreamless sleep state is the moment where you're very, very close to your true identity. In which case, considering that those moments are the most blissful, it is very, very logical to conclude that your true identity is really nothing but bliss and happiness. That is why Mandukya Upanishad connects everything. And when this Sutra says, Swapna Nidra Jnana Alambanam Va, what it does is, that is the moment where you get close to Ishvara. So it tells you, this sutra tells you, summarizing the entire 2, 3, 10 or 12 pages of Mandukya Upanishad into one line and connecting you with your true identity as be blissful and joyful. And that's what you focus on. So by tracing your dream, trying to understand your dream, you get there. Because different minds are different. Some people like to go by experience, some people like to analyze, some people like to debate, some people like to experiment. Therefore, these books like Patanjali Sutra and others, Upanishads, etc., they try to give a variety of opinions so that it addresses different people. So this also proves what I've said multiple times. The concept in Vedas is that every jiva's true identity is bliss. It exists, bliss, and full of intelligence. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, they say. That is an idea. And then Upanishad, what it does, it explains, elaborates by defining this concept, explaining how to achieve it, creating a structure of the human psyche, etc., in a particular way. Sutra does the same thing by compressing into 4 or 5 words. And if you look at some stories, Purana stories, maybe sometime next time I'll try to fish out one of the stories, it will talk about it. So it's given in the form of a story in Puranas for those whose pain, what shall I say, the appeal is only story form. There are people who don't want too many words, then Sutra is given. People like to go at conceptual level, Veda, one statement is given. And there are people who want to elaborate, analyze, like Greek philosophers, when Upanishad is given. That is how different ways of expressing the same idea is given. So that is a connect, to answer your question, that is the connect between this sutra, Mandukya Upanishad, as well as the Jung and Freud. Of course, you probably know more, more about Jung than I do. Please, you can comment on it.
Well, no, just that I was in a therapy for a long time, but I remember being interested in one of his longtime students, Marie-Louise von Franz. And I remember learning that she had said, I think she got this from Jung, that when you stop dreaming, death is close, death is near. And that stuck with me, because does that mean bliss? Death is bliss?
Good question. That's why I said, for Jung, he was so focused on waking state experience. Therefore, if you look what happens to people as they get older and older, probably was studying, and maybe very old people who are closer to death do not dream much.
Because they're getting closer to
I don't know whether they.
something.
I don't know, that may be true, but he was not focused on that. He wasn't trying to explain what was going on.
Okay.
Probably because as you become older and older, you lose control on your mind. Right? Some people who, for example, I don't know, I'm not a medical science doctor, I don't know what happens to people who suffer from dementia. What is the state of mind? I don't know. We have to analyze that, research that. It is possible that he observed, in his understand the period in which he was living, he observed the people. Most of these people, Jung or Freud, they are all empirical scientists. They did not take a theory and develop a mathematical formalism and then go for experimentation to prove it. Rather, they observed people or events, try to create a pattern, and then come back and say, this is the theory. They went in this direction. Yeah. If they based on observations, maybe he observed that people who are closer to death do not dream. How does he know? I would guess that he knows because we asked them. In my view, because they lost control of the mind, they don't know whether they really dreamt or not. They would have said, no, I didn't dream. Okay. Because nobody can. Today, probably it's easy. We could put EKG and all the machines and find out whether somebody is dreaming or not. At that time, I don't know. He was probably made his theory based on conversations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I have one more thing also. Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I don't know where I am. I don't know anything about my life. I wonder if you know why.
I don't know, because, for example, once upon a time, when I was living in Boston, I used to travel almost 70-80% of my time. Like the old style cooking ware salesperson of America. I used to leave Boston and go to Chicago, then to Seattle, then Los Angeles, then come down to Dallas. A whole round I used to take 15 days. I'll come back. Then after a few days, I start all over again. Now, in those type of travel, what happened? Every other day I was in a different hotel. I'll wake up. So when I wake up, I get terribly confused where I am, because the layout of the room is different. The bathroom is this side in one hotel, and that side another one. Many times I used to go knock myself on the wall, because I used to think there's a door there. It is not there. So it could be because of a confusion in my mind, because of a constant change of the environment. For me. For you, you may be in the same place, but you may be mentally thinking so many different things. It may be, but I think I must stop here, because I'm not a qualified psychologist. I don't think I should mislead you.
Okay. I just wondered if it was something, from a yoga perspective. I don't know.
Like I said, I can only guess, because you teach people and you meet people and so many different things happen. Something seizes your mind attention. I don't know.
Okay, that's okay. No, I just like wonder. It happens sometimes, and just wonder.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
Is Manjula, any point from your side?
Yeah, to Mary's point, I'm not a doctor either. I can say either she could be sleeping so well that when she comes back, she still feels she is sleeping, so she doesn't know where she is. This is just like a analysis I'm doing, but again, not related to any medical field or anything. Or it could be she is so exhausted that she needs some more sleep. So try going back to sleep and see if that helps.
Disturbed mind, possibly. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And many times it happens, right? I mean, to me personally, if I'm in deep sleep and I know it is time for me to get up in the morning and get back to my duties, I just wake up in such a rush. I don't know what I'm doing. I wake up, my body's up, but again, like my mind is still sleeping, so I don't know what I'm doing, where I am, and things like that. It takes few minutes for me to get back to normal. So I'm just trying to compare that, but yeah, it can happen to anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And when it comes to dream state, right? Isn't it like whatever thoughts we have before we go off to sleep? Isn't that, if not everything, a portion of it comes back as dream? Because I have experienced many times, it could be good or bad. So if we are deeply thinking about something or worried about something or happy about something, at one point, it may not happen every day. At one point, you see that you're dreaming about it. And morning when you wake up, you may remember portions of what you dreamt, and sometimes it may not be kind of available to you to even express. But we keep wondering why it happened, why I dreamt about it. So something in me tells that it could be the state of mind that we went to bed the previous night. So yeah, that's how I feel about dreaming. And again, like it could be so good that because of the joyous atmosphere there, I think we don't mind going back to that state every day, every night. So that is other part. But yeah, I think it is basically depending on what state we are in and how happy or disturbed we are. It may not happen just for one day or one instance. Over a period of time, I think our mind takes that hit, and at one point it shows as a dream, possibly. That's what I feel.
Definitely, definitely. The waking state influences dream quite a lot. No doubt about it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I was saying, Mandukya Upanishad and this particular Sutra 38 is focused on trying to analyze who is the common identity in the waking state who witnesses all these things, and in the dream state who is witnessing that you are dreaming, and in the deep sleep state when you are not even dreaming but enjoying the bliss, who is able to tell you, unless there has been an observer, you won't be able to recall. So that means there is an observer inside who, even in the dreamless state, is able to recognize and convey to you. Who is that person? Yeah. Of course, Mandukya Upanishad goes to the next level and says, even beyond Shushuk, this dreamless state, there is some existence, and that is what the pure Ishvara state is. And we will come to that little later. I'm sure he'll hit that point. At that time, I'll come back to Mandukya Upanishad. So the direction is the psychologists go towards using dream and dreamless state experience to deal with waking state, whereas the Indian philosophy takes the very same data and go inward to say, is there some common person which you can hold to? Yeah, that's another. They're going to the root, as they say, the root of the whole thing, existence, root of the consciousness, to be very precise. Yeah. Okay, let me go to the next one, if there are no questions. Yeah, there is 39. Yata abhimata dhyanadva. That means even the same thing can be done. That is the realization of that Ishvara in the heart can be done by using dhyana or meditation. Now, in which case, what is that meditation? See, how meditation is concentrating on a particular quote-unquote object. What kind of object? An object which you like. That is why if you see the word which is used is yata abhimata. That means the one which appeals to you, which you like. In which case, what could be that object? That is answered by 40. Paramanu parama mahatva anto asya vaisikaraha. That means you can concentrate on any kind of object of any size. From paramanu means atom. That's why in India we claim that atomic structure was discovered long before Dalton and others, because thousands of years ago they wrote this. Paramanu, that means tiniest object you can focus on, or Parama Mahatva, that means very big object you can focus on. In other words, they're indicating it doesn't matter. It need not be a very specific object. Or it can be of any type, any size, etc. But what is important is it must appeal to you. Why? Because mind naturally goes towards what you like more than what you dislike. Therefore, they try to use this. Then what happens? Then in 41, they try to explain. Kshina vrittir abhijatasya eva maner grahatir grahana graheshu tatastha tad ajnata sampattaha. That is, why should you do this meditation? Because if, as an example they give in this, supposing you take all of us in a crystal of any shape you take. We do have crystal bowls and things like that. They inherently have no color. They're colorless. But if you bring any other object which is closer to it of any color, this crystal will look like that color. Right? If you put it on let us say a black mat, the crystal, for a quick look, when you quickly look at it, it looks black. If you put a red mat, it looks red. It is the nature of the crystal to absorb, quote unquote, the color of the environment and become that. And Yoga Sutra says, this Sutra says, mind is like that, like a crystal. It will assume the object which you bring closer. That means understanding the nature of the mind. Yoga Sutra gives a technique. If you like, for whatever you are, based on your upbringing, where you're born, your environment, your thought process, independent thinking, put all of them together. You believe, you like certain things and you can focus on that. This is being done to help people do meditation on, for example, if you are a very God-loving, I don't want to say that God-fearing, that's the wrong word, God-loving person, let us say. Unlike the Western religions, the Indian religion gives you multiplicity of gods as choices. So you could like, somebody likes this God, somebody likes the other God, so on and so forth. But if you combine all religions put together, if Muslims do not believe in any form in the God, they have to find something which does not have a form which does not have a form. Right? If Christians believe it's the form, the Father is the form of a light, you can think of a light, for example. But if you're a Hindu person, you like Krishna, Rama, Shiva, or something, that particular image you can take. Is it absolutely necessary that you have to take form of this particular shape, size, any particular shape or size? And what happens if you do not like form or shape? The next two sutras will try to explain. Any question on this so far? No? Okay. Then we'll go for 42. Tatra sabdhartha jnana vikalpai samkirna savitraka samapatitaha samapattihi. That means if you take an object which has got attributes, it's got a shape, it's got a size, it's got eyes. For example, in some of the Indian gods, on the one extreme would be like Shiva. who can be represented by a symbol called Shiva Linga. Linga means symbol, just a piece of stone, oblique, kind of cylindrical piece of stone. Or it could be a person who is sitting and meditating. He's got four arms and holds spear in one, and it keeps on defining. Or it can go to Vishnu. Vishnu is supposedly a form which has got infinite attributes. So you'd always see the portraits of Vishnu with elaborate decoration, smiling with a lot of beautiful jewelry, beautiful clothes, and all kind of things. You can keep on describing. That's why it's called infinite attribute. So you could choose any of it depending upon your nature. Because remember, in the previous sutra, it said it could be an atomic size or it could be the biggest of the biggest. So choice is yours. Then what happens to people what kind of experience do they get if they choose to focus on these kind of objects, a simple object like Shiva or a very, very, very well-defined object like Vishnu? Or what happens to people who, like Christians, want to think of their Ishvara only as a light, a spark of light? Or like what happens to Muslims who think that their God, Allah, is formless, cannot be defined? What do we do in various cases? So it explains in 42, if you are the type of the mind, if you have that kind of a mind, which likes objects representing Ishvara with form, then what happens in this deep meditation is every other thought goes away, every other awareness goes away, and you and that particular object alone remains, and you are seized of that object and that object alone, and that is called Savitarka Samapattihi. It's also called, in another word used, is called the Samapattihi is a samadhi, another word for samadhi. Savitarka means well-defined samadhi. It's called Saguna Samadhi, is another word which is used. An attributeful object is the target of your meditation, and therefore you will not see. That means when you are sitting and meditating with a defined form like this, whatever happens around you, after all, you're in a house, there are others walking, going, somebody's watching TV, and so on and so forth. Though there are gradations in the experience, but all of them have a common denominator, which is you are less and less aware of all other things happening around you, and you are more and more aware of only what is the object of your meditation. I said gradation because in the beginning you will hear all kind of disturbances while in your mind there are no other thoughts but the object of your meditation, and over a period of time all the sounds around you start fading away. It is still there, but it will fade away. At one point in time, you are not even aware these things are there. The ears work. Therefore, the signals will get created when the sounds come. The brain may recognize that something is going on because they are not physical. Those connections are there. But you are not aware in the sense that you will not react. If in a waking state, when you are sitting in this room and somebody drops something, heavy object, you get rattled. But when you're in deep meditation, in samadhi state, and somebody drops, even though signals come, you hardly move. That's what is meant as a gradation of this experience. And because in mind you have only thought about the object of meditation, nothing else, it is called Savitarka Samapattihi. Any comment, any experience to share?
Is that like when I was meditating and the mouse came on my leg? Is that an example of that?
Can you explain that a little more?
When I was about a few years ago, every morning at 4, I'd get up and I'd sit and meditate. And I felt something on my knee, and it was a little mouse. We had a mouse in our house that year.
Exactly.
And I did not flinch.
Exactly.
Normally I would.
Exactly.
Like, it did not have any effect on me. So I was just, is that an example? Because if
Yes. Most likely you were in the samadhi or near samadhi state at the time.
Okay, that's.
But if a mouse sits on, you find you jump and run away.
Oh, for sure, I'd scream and call my husband.
That's the point. That is the point. You only witness. See the point. You are merely witnessing. I mean, to put it in colorful language, you are merely witnessing a person called Mary sitting there, and then the mouse is on her leg.
Yeah, but it didn't. I can't always be like that. That's the thing. That's what's like,
Yes, that is true. You don't have to be like that, but also it's also true that you can. There is a mental state called sthita prajnatva. That is, retaining this mental state of yours, where you felt you're merely witnessing somebody called Mary sitting on the mouse on her leg. This witness state of existence, you are able to retain throughout your day, 24/7. That is called sthita prajnatva. That will come over a long period of time.
Okay.
Don't know whether you will get it in this birth, but you surely will get that. That is where we say it is entirely up to Ishvara to decide when you will get into the sthita prajnatva day position. On what basis does he decide? It is based on your spending away all the after effects of all the karmas which you have done so far. When the karmas get exhausted, then is the time you will retain this forever. All of us will have to wait.
So it's not really in my hands.
It is in your hands to the extent you are able to expend away all the effects of karma by a contravening karma. Only a karma can negate another karma. If you simply wait, that is one way. Another way is there is a lot of things you can do. For example, it's making it very simple. I'm oversimplifying, but to make a point, I'm oversimplifying. Supposing you have this mental equanimity, etc., all the good things, very good behavior of God. You are never, jealous of anybody. You have good control on your senses. You're not hankering after desire. All that is there. But still, that being a little bit short-tempered is still there. Yeah, because getting angry is a very common thing. So I'm using this as an example. That is a problem. You should not get angry, right? That's a problem. So everything has been resolved, but anger problem is still there. Therefore, you can put in a lot of efforts. They got anger management and all that fancy theories are there. But essentially what it means is, if you get angry, nobody else can solve that problem for you. Only you have to solve it yourself. So you have to analyze, why are we getting angry? What is the reason why am I getting angry so easily? Is there something I can do so that I don't have what is called as a short fuse? Those actions you can take. Yeah. We say that ultimately Ishvara decides because in spite of all our best efforts, we recognize we don't succeed always. Therefore, there is some X factors there. Therefore, we put all these X factors together and say it's Ishvara's will. Now, for this also they have developed a technique in India. If it is indeed Ishvara's will, logically speaking, how do you ensure that Ishvara says that, okay, you're ready and makes you that way? How do I entice Ishvara to give me that boon? Quote unquote. Then they put a lot of theological practices, etc. Outwardly, it looks as though you're trying to please Ishvara for a ritual. You sing the songs which praise him, you participate in groups we talk about those things. It looks as though we are trying to please outwardly, but in reality, what's going to happen is it is training your mind that actually speaking, you get angry because you have very different expectations. When that expectation is not met, frustration builds up. Frustration is the root cause of anger. The frustration happens because you set certain expectations. You set an expectation because you think you are in control. But now the antidote of Ishvara, the chanting, the praise, when you sing praise of God, what do you say? The almost all over the world, the God's praise always say, you are the infinite, I am nothing in front of you, I am not in control, I am in your mercy, I am your slave. This is the kind of words are used. That's more like training your mind to recognize that you are not in absolute control. And therefore, don't set absolute expectations. And even if you set absolute expectations, don't be surprised or dejected if it is not met. If your expectations are not met, and if you are not dejected, if you are not disappointed, then the frustration comes down and down and down, and therefore you become less and less and less angry. That's why they invented all the rituals and what is called as pujas and satsangs, so on and so forth. So you have a role to play, but you don't have an absolute control on the specific effect of the actions you take. On this one line, that you do not have absolute control on the effects of the actions you take, is elaborated into a very big chapter in Bhagavad Gita. For example, you may have heard a concept called Nishkamya Karma. That means you indulge in activities without seeking to own the results of those activities. There will be objectives for the activities. It's not about not setting the objective. You will set an objective. Objective defines the actions. But you will not seek to own the specific results of those activities. Called Nishkamya Karma. This one line he took and gave a very big discourse. So, but as a summary, you have your end of the stick to take care. If you take care of your end of the stick, Ishvara gives you that grace. In other words, it's very wrong, but still I say this as to make a point. Very crude way of putting it is like Ishvara is an accountant. He has got two columns. You want certain things, what are all the actions you have to take on the left-hand side column? And the right-hand side column, what are the actions you have taken? When they balance, he says, yes, okay, take it and go away. To make a point, I'm saying this, it's not exactly true.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Manjula, anything?
Yeah, we call it Ishvara or any other force out there. Definitely, I was comparing it to test actually. We do a lot of studies. It could be in school or even throughout our life, we keep studying something or the other. So it's up to us to study for that test or exam, right? The end result we'll know only after we write that exam and get the results. So result part, I think we should leave it to that force out there, and we have to do our part. Like for example, you gave this example of an anger. Anger, yeah, of course. I can just let go and be angry all the time. At the same time, it's up to me to control that anger to a certain extent wherever possible. And once you know how it can be done and we follow that through, I think we'll have definitely have good control over it, and that takes care of that anger. So again, expectations also, I do agree that we cannot expect things from others a certain way because setting that actually can make us disappointed. So at the same time, when we achieve that and that expectation is met, we feel happy. That is a common human thing, I would say. So yeah, we have to know our limits, and we can train ourselves, our brains, to accept certain things, and that's how I think we can leave the rest to Ishvara or that force out there to give us the results.
Excellent summary. So what happens to people who do not have very specific appointment? For them also it explains. That is 43. Smriti parisuddhau swarupa sunyaeva arthamatra nirabhasa nirvitarkaha. So if the objects of meditation does not have a very specific form, it's a little tricky because most of the people are able to meditate based on a specific object. I will explain this in a few minutes. If you're able to meditate without having a very well-defined object in place, then what happens is that mental absorption of an attributeless thing alone remains. You don't see that object anymore because there's no object to see. That is called nirvitarka samapatti. Like we said, vitarka at that place, it's called nirguna dhyana. In other words, what shall we say? This is where how do I define an object which has no attribute? That's where the difficulty comes, right? Because in all languages, in all communication models, attributes are the means through which you define any object. Now, here is a proposition that you do dhyana on an attributeless entity. I don't know whether you have tried this. One of the ways to do is, when you get into sit for meditation, maybe you can explain, Manju, you can also explain, if you're meditating, how do you start and how do you do, etc. Let me state this first. What you do is, you don't project any image in your mind. You don't. You don't think about any image in your mind. You don't think of any sound in the mind. You don't think of any light in your mind. You don't. You just sit there without even thinking. The mind, which is a bundle of thoughts, slowly the thoughts will calm down. It will disappear one by one, one by one. At one particular point in time, you are still, absolute still. Because you have not started thinking about a specific object, you don't see that object. Then what do you see? You see nothing. You don't feel the joy of seeing an object because you don't have an object. But you tap into the joy which is your own definition. This is a language problem. This is the only way I can explain it. For example, I have to say you tap into the joy which you have inside. Is the way I can explain. But there's no activity like tapping into, putting your hand into a jar full of joy. It's not like that. There's the only way I can explain to you, but that's not what it is. This is the difficulty of explaining what is called as nirvikalpa samadhi, right? As nirvitarka samadhi, as it is called. But this is another method. I don't know how Muslims meditate because they are very obsessed with Allah, which has no form. Whether meditation is a part of Muslim tradition, I don't know, because some of the Muslim sects do not like meditation, yoga, etc. But there is a sect which is very much focused on these metaphysical things. But I am personally unaware of their practices. But fact of the matter is, it is possible not to focus on any definition of any object. Just be yourself and watch. For example, I will probably project that image next time as a background. There was a person called Ramana Maharishi in India. Relatively, you heard of him? Both of you would have, right? relatively a recent person, only 100 years back, I think. His method is that he will simply observe the mind. He will simply sit on a rock. He just went and sat there. That he won't do nothing. No ritual, no sloka, no nothing. He won't even talk. People throng to him, he won't talk. People coax him to talk a few things, and even when he talks, he will always say, you know what, there's nothing to do, literally nothing to do. Just be quiet. When you quiet means quieten your actions, quiet your mind, quieten your thoughts, quieten your intellect. More importantly, quieten your ego. That's all he would say. It's very hard to follow him. But the point is, he lived that till he died. And everybody liked it. And we'll talk about it next time when I project his, very interesting. There are people like that who tell you how to do it. So, before I'll do the next one, it kind of completes probably. Okay, we probably, next one we'll do it next time. We will let you talk now to explain how you do your meditation, how do you start, what are your experiences, etc. And how does it tally with these sutras which we have discussed today? Go ahead.
Me?
Anyone? Well, you can go first, no problem.
Well, I start by sitting and not allowing the thoughts to take my attention. I think I start to focus a little bit on the breath. I watch the breath and the body, and it's and then somehow, if things go well that day, I can sit like that for an hour, and there's this then the mouse can come. There's this sense that I'm just sitting there quietly, and my mind is not disturbed. Like the thoughts are not running, in all those thoughts that I always have it's very quiet. The mind is quiet, and I'm focused on one. I don't know. I think it's mostly the breath. I think I mostly focus on the breath, and the body is always comfortable. I mean, there's no pain or anything, so it doesn't disturb me. It doesn't distract me, and I think that's all I can say right now about it.
Not a problem. Thank you. Angela?
Yeah, for me, meditation, it depends. Each day is different. Sometimes I do asanas and then towards the end I do meditation. At times I just do meditation. So for me to find that time and be still, sitting still for whatever, 10 minutes, 20 minutes or even more, that is important. I have to pick a time where I'm not distracted. So I just choose a time where I know I don't have anything kind of scheduled for the day, or I kind of assume that nobody is calling me or anything. And I make sure that I focus. I focus on something. It need not be a form of an object or anything. It could be just to sit still, I follow some mudra and I hold my hand position in such a way. Quietness, I can just stay quiet. Thoughts keep clashing. At one point, when I start focusing, it could be focus on breath, or it could be focus on the third eye, or sometimes I just stay still, not thinking too much. When the thoughts come, I try to kind of push it away. At one point, like if I stay longer in that position, I quieten myself and I feel I can stay calm that way. But again, all the other day-to-day activities pull me away, so I have to come back. At one point, I say, okay, this is enough for today. So that's how I do my meditation.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, then. So it's getting late, so we will stop at this point. Think through this. We'll try to dig deeper into, the meditation techniques and what happens, etc. Probably next time when we talk. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Because this, if you look at Patanjali Yoga, he's going to go in stages. In chapter 1, the focus is a lot more. This chapter 1 we are studying, focus is a lot more about the purpose of, objective of yoga. Yeah. Then they will talk about yoga and samadhi and what happens after you qualify, what happens. Like that, the four different chapters are there. We go stage by stage, and for each chapter, based on the topics the Patanjali covers, we will try to see how we can, correspond to our respective experiences, etc. So, okay. So, thank you very much for the good conversation today. We'll see you next time. Namaste.
Thank you, Patty. Bye. Bye, Manju. Thank you.
Bye. Take care. Bye.